Welcome to the Gippsland League Football Show.
Good evening. We're here for episode 2 of the Footy Show from Gippsland League. We have a preliminary final coming up at the Great Maffra Reserve this week, and it's between Traralgon and Druin. And I'll get Keith here to give a bit of a rundown on how the two teams got to that position.
Yes, thanks Chris. Preliminary final day is always great footy, and I think it's often one of the best matches of the final series, with a place in the grand final and a possible premiership at stake. Traralgon are in the preliminary final because they lost the second semi-final to Maffra, but only just by a goal, by 6 points, in what was a really outstanding match. Druin, on the other hand, have won through via the elimination final and the first semi-final. Last week, really taking the sword to Morwell in a very, very impressive win. So it certainly shapes up as being a fantastic contest this weekend.
Yeah, and we're likely to have some pretty good matchups, and I think we probably should have a bit of a look at those, Keith. Do you want to go through a couple, and I'll go through a couple as well?
Yes, I think there's identifiable strengths in both sides. Traralgon is a side that really has the ability to kick big scores. They have good key forwards in Tim Aiken, the league's leading goal kicker, and Sam Dunbar, who I've been extremely impressed with at centre half forward. Then you have people like McKenna, who can kick a lot of goals, and the role he plays will be very interesting. And Geary, of course, is always dangerous near goals, and they have quite a few others. Druin's strength has been its midfield and its defence. Not to say the forwards haven't done a good job. Druin has kicked some very good scores this year, but one of its strengths has been keeping opposition sides to low totals. And I think for Druin to win this week against Traralgon, the pressure that its forwards maintain so that Traralgon don't get easy clearances, the pressure through the midfield, so it is not a case of easy setups for Traralgon's key forwards. I think that's the key to Druin's game.
Yeah, well, I mean, one of the main matchups will be full forward Tim Aiken against Druin's Jay Barr, and I think that'll be crucial as to how that ends up. Last time Jay Barr had won, and I'm expecting Tim to come back. I mean, he's a leading goal kicker, represented the league, and he will be very keen to come back and have a big game. I'm the same with Sam Dunbar. I think he's a great, hard-working forward for the Traralgon Footy Club. Whoever gets a job on him is going to need a very big rest after it, because he just works and works and works. I think on the as well in the back line for Traralgon, we have Michael Burge, who has been given some big jobs and come through very well. And I also think that running out from there, Lee Cummings, who's very important to Traralgon's run. He's a hard nut, typical redhead, just puts the head down and has a crack at it. And I would say Lee, he'll be in for a big one. Dan McKenna, yes, I think he's the type of player that can turn the game. He'll either be up forward or up back, and either way he will have a huge influence on the game. The two coaches, Steve Hazelman and Ben Samilis, they lead by example, and I'm sure those two, whatever they can conjure, will have a strong bearing on the game.
I think one of the real good contests of the day will be in the ruck between Druin's Bob McCallum and Rowan Hall from Traralgon. They're both extremely good players and very valuable for their side. They're quite similar in a lot of respects. They both provide good link up around the ground, and they're both capable of just drifting forward, kicking 2 or 3 goals in a match. And that will be a terrific contest. As I said, they're both very good ruckmen, good players, and do a lot of extra work for their team around the ground and are very effective.
Yeah, I totally concur with you there, Keith. I think also the small man brigade in both teams. Obviously, Druin have been so successful this year with their centre line, which includes Andrew Samilis, Paddy McGrath, Clinton Proctor, who's an addition to it. Those three will have a huge bearing, as will Chris Dunn, who's been kicking a fair amount of goals over the finals, Keith, and I think he kicked 5 or 6 on the weekend, and I would imagine that Traralgon will be worried about him.
Yes, well, Dunn has actually kicked 10 goals in the 2 finals, 6 last week against Moore, which in the heavy conditions on Sunday and slippery conditions, 6 goals was a terrific effort from what they call the graveyard of the football field, half-forward flank. But he's a very astute player and yes, certainly presents a big danger to Traralgon.
I think it'll be an interesting battle up at full forward for Drawn as well. Troy Kneebone, who attacks the ball extremely hard and he lets his opposition know who's there. It'll be interesting on who Traralgon actually place on him, and I'm still not sure who that's going to be. Tim Darby was playing at fullback early in the year, but he's been coming on and playing in a few different positions this year. And in actual fact, he came on against Mafra on Saturday and he kicked 2 of the best goals I've seen for many a long day. They were at least 65 metres out, and they were 2 of the best goals I've seen. Also there, Brad Carmody, who's hit a bit of form as well. The match-up there will be interesting. I would suggest that Ryan Potter might get one of them, and possibly Michael Burge. And the other side of it is Sam Proctor as well, who drifts down for Drawn, and young Bradley Walker and Jordan White. I would think that they also are going to be involved in kicking goals. And I think I'll hand that over to you now, Keith, to go on further.
Well, Chris, I think in running through the contests around the ground, looking at what we think might be the likely teams for the weekend, yes, I just am looking forward to the game so much. I think it'll be an absolute cracker. Whoever wins will certainly make Mafra work hard the following week. Really looking forward to the game. We started off last week with a clean sheet, 2 wins from 2 in our tips, which I think was my best strike rate for the year. I'm not sure this week, but I think I'll tend to Drawn. Their form has been excellent over the last 3 weeks, including a big win against Traralgon, and most of the dangers that Traralgon present Drawn, we're certainly aware of those in that last home and away round and handled them, matched up to it well, used their game plan to overcome that and then set up their own game. And I think Drawn have just got that little bit up their sleeves that they might be able to get over Traralgon this week.
Well, I think it'll be a very, very close game. I'm tipping at the end of each quarter there won't be much in it, and I'm even tipping that it'll be a draw, and the winner will be decided in extra time. That's how close I'm expecting this game to be. And I still haven't made up my mind who the winner is going to be. But anyway, the Mafra ground will be in perfect condition for it. The weather up there is always shiny, Jack Vardy tells me, so no one will be able to complain about any wet, slippery conditions. And we're looking forward to a great game.
Certainly are.
Thank you. See you next week.